Well, hello. Welcome to Orchid Bloom's podcast. Welcome back, bloomers. I am your host, Orchid Brown, with Orchid Bloom's podcast. You can find me on TikTok, Blue Skies, at Orchid I Brown. This week's podcast episode is on the spirit of Leviathan. So the backstory is that I met a manipulative person at a previous job that I worked at, and I could not pinpoint what kind of spirit they had because their behavior and what I felt just meeting them for the first time was just abnormal. Something very vile was on the inside of them. And so I've worked in many places and I've met some vile people, and I've always been able to kind of pinpoint what type of person they are and put them in a category and either stayed away from them or put myself in a position where it's strictly professional and make sure that there is nothing personal that would overlap. But in this case, the moment I met this person, I was just like, I want nothing to do with you, but I have to be civil and I have to smile and act like I care when I don't. And it was easy to do that because with people like that, or people in general, if you just mimic the way that they treat you, it's easy to convince them that you like them too, or you like them back. They won't be able to read that you don't actually like them. And you have to have that different mask in the workplace to be able to survive. But I've never had to put in this much effort of mimicking someone because I don't want to be anybody but myself with anyone. And in this situation, because this person just irked me, they gave me the ick. My skin would crawl whenever I see them, or they come around and they try to be nice to me. I don't know what it was, but I could not pinpoint it. I could not pinpoint what kind of spirit I was dealing with. And at first I just thought, okay, this person hasn't done anything to me. Why don't I like them? Why do I feel suspicious of them? I don't want them anywhere near me. And I just kept wondering, like, this is not normal. I've worked in workplaces where I've met people and I'm like, nope, I'd rather you stay over there and I'll stay over here. And I made it a point to never be in a situation where I'd have to interact with someone unnecessarily. But in this situation, I just felt the ick. So I was like, okay, maybe it's a spirit that I'm dealing with. Maybe this person has something evil inside of them that just has all of my red flags flaring up. So that kind of led me down the path of thinking of maybe it's a spirit that I'm dealing with. And because of this, I developed the podcast episode, Spirit of Jealousy, where I just kind of learned about the backstory of this person in the workplace and realized that, okay, this person has a jealous spirit, the spirit of Jezebel. That's what I'm getting from this. So while I was sitting in that shithole of an office, I kept looking at this pariah and could not tell the difference. So I prayed about it, asked God to reveal to me what this person is, because I don't think of this person as a person. I see him or this person as an it. It is something, there's just something about this person. It was just it. So the only thing I got was a vision. And in that vision, I saw that it had many faces. Keep in mind, this is the second vision that I got about it, because the first time I didn't pray about it, but I saw another vision. And this time I actually prayed about it. And God sent me the vision of him as having many faces. But it was still odd. So I had to kind of memorize that, wake up in the morning and really think about it for the rest of the day, because details mattered. They do. You can get a vision, and if you're not covering all the details and you're just focusing on one, you're not going to get everything. But I was like, why does this person have many different faces? I am a hunter, so naturally I am going to hunt everything down. And if the spirit is showing me something, it means I need to learn more about spirituality. And mind you, this person wasn't really on my radar because they eventually kept to themselves when they realized that, I wasn't impressed. I wasn't like, oh, you're great. I was just like, oh, okay, you're a nice person. That's me just kind of coasting you, like patting you on the head, because he clearly needs validation and constant validation at that. So you just treat them like a pet, like a dog, like pat them on the head. You just have to, because that's what this person was looking for. Now, this person started, I guess, trying to wake me up because, again, spiritually, I was asleep. And I was just coasting. But, the red flags about this person did trigger me, but not enough for me to get up out of my slumber, because it's not like they're starting anything with me. You have to start something with me, and then she comes out. And when she comes out, enough said. It's bet. Let's play. You know what I mean? So this person started doing like certain things to try to trigger me, or to try to figure out what my weaknesses are, or starting shit, talking shit. I mean, the work, smear campaigns, character assassination. And I just kind of watched because, again, I'm a hunter. And in order for you to win, you need to know your enemies. Everyone knows this. You don't just go into a war without knowing the person personally, all of their business, as well as who they are spiritually and what they are. Never go into a gunfight with a knife. So I made it my business to know everything about my prey, especially since they woke me up from my slumber. Back to the image. Now, the different faces was attached to a snake-like neck, but it was confusing because months before, as I said, there's two visions of this person and it had changed. The vision before was that this person kept coming into my dreams and he had like a black aura, like a smoke was coming off of him. But it wasn't really smoke. It just seemed like steam just coming out of this person's body. And now that vision had changed. Now it had many faces attached to a snake-like neck branching out from the person's body like a tree in many different directions. So it was weird. So I had to take in that image and analyze it. But then I started looking a little bit further, focusing on the image that I memorized in my head. And I realized that there was only 3 heads. And I said, okay, so 3 heads, snake-like neck, and this person's full body. So I prayed for clarification again because I don't understand what the 3 heads mean. I was completely lost. So I finished my work in that moldy, smelly, disgusting office. And I got out to fresh air and finally inhaled it. And I went home. And by the time I got home, I got a word that popped into my head that said Leviathan. And I thought, Leviathan? I don't know anything about Leviathan. I asked out loud, like, what does that mean? I have no knowledge on what Leviathan is. So it took me some time, and I have really meditated on the topic of Leviathan. I did my research and everything like that, but I also felt like something else was off. What is the 3 heads? Is Leviathan the 3 heads, or is the 3 heads a representation of something else? Now, this podcast episode is called Leviathan because I wanted to share my research with you guys and what I have learned about this spirit, especially when you meet people like this. So this talk is specifically about Leviathan. It's focused on real life and not just in theory. But the 3 heads branched me off into something else. So I really needed to research other similar spirits and kind of figure out, are the 3 heads based on this? So in conversation, in relationships, in environments where something feels off, but you can't quite explain it. Some battles are not loud or obvious. Some are strategic, subtle, and designed to distort your perception. And if you're misidentifying what you're dealing with, you will respond incorrectly. And that's where people lose themselves. Spiritual warfare is not just about praying. It's also about confronting your enemies head on and making sure that you understand what exactly you're dealing with and learn how to respond. Disclaimer for this episode, I am not removing spiritual language from this conversation because for many of you listening, you understand terms like Leviathan, Jezebel spirit, and etc. Removing that language can make harmful behaviors seem normal when they are not. I've worked in many different places and I've dealt with many different people. People will say I'm a social butterfly. I'm really not. I'm introverted. But you kind of have to learn how to be extroverted out in the real world. And I promise you, this is not something that I've ever dealt with. Yes, maybe I've dealt with Jezebel spirits, but a Leviathan spirit, this is new. So yeah, I needed to do my research. So this disclaimer is for you all to understand that I can't remove the spiritual aspect of conflicts, especially spiritual warfare that you may be dealing with and you don't know you're in a battle spiritually. But at the same time, not everyone learns the same way. So I will try to give a balanced answer, something that maybe you can identify with and understand the best way that I can. So what we're going to do for this podcast episode, the agenda is to keep the spiritual framework, but anchor it in observable patterns and give you strategy, not just identification. This episode is not about saying these spirits exist. This is about saying, here's how they operate, how they affect you, and how to respond without losing yourself. Discernment is protection. And that was a lesson that I needed to learn dealing with this spirit that I've never dealt with before in someone that I am completely disgusted with. Like, just the thought of this person makes me puke, makes me just completely just bleh, bleh. So now let's get back to the topic. Leviathan operates through confusion, pride, and twisted communication. This is something that this person liked to do. And I observed it because, again, there's always a loophole. Let them talk too much and spill too much and then take that opportunity and jab it in. But again, I'm a hunter. And when I find a prey, I go all in. This is not always loud. The confusion, the pride, the twisted communication, it's not always loud. This person behaved like they were so meek and pathetic. This is not always aggressive, and they weren't. They like to be aggressive when no one's looking, but they definitely, do jabs here and there, and it was just subtle. It's often subtle enough to make you question yourself. Like, did I see that? Did I get that? I mean, the first few times it was like, huh? But the second, I got out of that confusion, I was like, oh, I see what's going on. Now it's my turn to make some jabs. But anyways, the Leviathan spirit is described in charismatic and deliverance ministry as a high-ranked demonic entity, principality, specializing in pride, deception, and chaos. And it is viewed as a twisted spirit that disrupts communication, causes division, and hardens heart. It is often termed as a marine spirit associated with water. And I'm water. I'm a fish, and I got two fishes. One of them's the sweetest you could ever meet, and the other one is a badass. So I guess a water spirit decided they wanted to mess with a water person. Okay. I don't know if this person really understood what my spirit is like, but I'm a water person. I like peace. I like calm. I like gentle. But when I'm going to war, I become a warrior. And this warrior can spit fire. And spit fire from my country means someone that knows how to talk a lot of shit and will whip you with words alone. My words alone could destroy you. And I mean, the Bible talks about that all the time. Be careful what you say. The tongue is a weapon. I can strip anyone down with just my words, and that is very dangerous. And that is a gift that God has given me. So if I'm going to war, I'm tearing everything up just with my mouth. And when my mouth is done talking, I'm going to whip out my sword and I'm going to handle my business. But anyways, let's go back to Leviathan spirit. Key characteristics. The first is that they like to twist the truth. I've watched this, I've experienced this, and I have laughed internally due to this. But the twisting of truth it's a good watch. It distorts conversation, leading people to believe lies or misunderstandings. Second is creating division. It frequently disrupts relationships, splits churches, and divides households. Now, pride and arrogance, and God, did I see this? And it was laughable for me, but for a lot of people who experience the Leviathan spirit, you're not thinking this. You're not feeling this. You are just thinking and feeling this person is a monster. But again, I like to do my research. So I make sure I'm knowledgeable when I'm going up against something this vile. So pride and arrogance, known as the king over all the children of pride. It manifests as an inability to accept correction and admit wrongdoing. And this is something this person could not do. Correction, no. You have to tell them that they're the best, even when they look like a complete fucking moron. Tell them they're the best. Next on the list, communication blockage. It causes silence, stubbornness, and distorted words. Let me tell you, talking to this person was like talking to a wall. Common sense was just not common sense. Physical/spiritual oppression. It is associated with causing insomnia, mental confusion, physical strain, neck and back pain, and spiritual shipwrecks. Yes, I experienced all of that during my time dealing with this person, and it was quite overwhelming. But again, I'm a warrior. I just get back up, get my sword, my shield, and I start fighting back. And then before I go to bed, I make sure I pray. Last, operating in secret. It often works under the radar, attacking through or with spirits of fear, offense, or Jezebel. And you know what the funny thing is? Remember that vision I told you about, the second one, where he had 3 heads and his neck branched out like a tree, but it was like a snake. Operating in secret is a snake, right? They slither in, cause confusion, derision, and create a whole smear campaign about the person that they're attacking on weak-minded people, because again, they don't know how to fight against the spirit of fear, offense, or a Jezebel. They just know that they feel threatened. They know that this is dangerous, and in order to survive, they're going to have to side with this person and participate in the destruction of themselves, just so they can survive this spirit. Because again, if you don't do what this spirit of confusion, pride, and twisted communication wants, they will come for you. And if you don't know how to fight back spiritually and physically, you are done for. And people can feel that. They can feel that in their gut and in their pit when this person comes around and they tell lies and they do certain stuff and they suggest things and they start putting things in your head. Oh, did you hear what she said? This is actually what she meant, not actually what she said. You understand what I'm saying? It's the creating an illusion in someone's mind, but you have no choice but to go along with it, because if you reject it, they're coming after you. And I could feel the fear. I could smell the fear. And I was like, what am I dealing with? So now that I've done my research and learned a little bit more about this spirit, I go, oh, that's what this was. And I'm sitting there laughing my ass off, because it's like, how do you get played by a boy? It's not that you got played by the boy. It's that you had no choice but to play the boy's game, or it will come back to you and you have no idea how to defend yourself. But unfortunately, that excuse will not save anyone from consequences. So if that person goes down, all of y'all going down with them. That's how I know. This is called spiritual law. Now, what does that look like in real life? And I'll just give you guys a quick list, and you can associate. You can look at what you're experiencing currently, what you're dealing with in your workplace, in your relationships, anywhere, and just kind of see if it kind of falls into these categories. So you have a conversation and leave more confused than when you started. Confusion. Your words are constantly being twisted or misinterpreted. You're explaining yourself over and over again and still not being understood. Mind you, they don't want to understand you. They just want to hear what they want to hear. Next on the list, there is no accountability, only deflection. Oh, so annoying. You start asking yourself, wait, did I say that wrong? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. They just don't want to hear it. At some point in a conversation with this Leviathan spirit, I had to ask them, do you understand English? Because I'm speaking plain English. You should be able to understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. Why are you twisting it and making it sound like something else? Do I need to repeat myself so that you can understand better? And it's weird because I had to speak very firm because this person was going off in la la land and like creating stuff in their head because that's not what they wanted to hear. So I had to kind of smack them on the head and make them realize that you can't be this dumb. What I'm saying is very straightforward. If you can't understand it, we can call someone in that knows and understands English, and they can maybe break it down for you so that you can understand. It sucks that I had to make this person feel like they're fucking stupid, but I really had to, because their imaginations was just going off and they started coming up with this grandiose vision in their mind about themselves and how great they are sitting there looking like an idiot. And I had to remind them, no, you're looking like an idiot. But not very many people can do that. They don't know how to do that. And of course, I do, because I have immense experience speaking to many different types of people. A lot of people don't have that. So when someone is trying to twist their words and turn something into something else and saying that you're saying this, but you never said that, it causes confusion and people get a bit overwhelmed. Unfortunately, I'm a very stern person. I'm a very serious person in a serious situation. So the only thing you're going to get from me is seriousness. There's no jokes. There is no, oh, maybe I didn't mean that. No. I'm not a clown. I'm not stupid. This is what I said. And I said it. Now, if you're not going to understand it, we have a communication problem. Again, Leviathan, twist communication. And of course, I'm a Spitfire. So what do Spitfires do? Make corrections and make sure you understand clearly what they're saying. Everything that I'm coming out of my mouth, you should understand. You cannot be that dumb. When you insult their intelligence, the pride comes up. All of a sudden, they're like, well, of course I'm smart. No, you're not, because you just tried to twist my communication as if you did not understand English. They don't like that. Don't ever insult their intelligence. But I can do that, because I know how to wield words and I know how to make sure my words have impact. I did a podcast episode talking about leadership, and one of the greatest quality a leader should have is knowing how to communicate effectively. When someone is coming to play in your face, as a leader, you should be able to put them in their place, but at the same time, having the authority and the grace to make sure that they understand that I'm not the one to play with. Then you smile to their face in a charismatic way and make them feel like this is no big deal, but never let it happen again. Leadership. The symptoms, of course, that a regular person who does not understand what they're dealing with may experience over time is that this creates mental exhaustion. Leviathan doesn't just create confusion, it sustains it. Here is an example. You say, I felt disrespected when you spoke to me that way. And instead of addressing that, the response becomes, well, that's not what I meant. You're always taking things the wrong way. Always taking things the wrong way. Isn't that sweet? Now you're no longer talking about the behavior of that person. You're now defending your perception. So you explain again and again and again until eventually you're not even sure what the original issue was. That's not a misunderstanding. That's distortion. They're doing that deliberately. And when that happened to me in a meeting with this vile, disgusting spirit of a person, I remembered seeing the machines going off in their head, because again, they have to think really hard to deal with a person like myself. Again, I do my research. So you can see it, the machine, the slow, rusty machine going off in their head. And I'm just sitting there waiting for them to kind of get to a point where again, you should have done this prior to meeting with me. But since you decided that you wanted to invite me into the office to sit down and then go with your brain, and I'm sitting there just looking at you like, oh my God, this is such a waste of time. And I would just sit there and I'm waiting for them to figure out how they're going to go about this. And they put on this fake ass smile that doesn't even reach their cheek. It's just cringe to look at. And of course, I don't have a poker face. So when that cringy smile comes on, my face just, my brows furrow, and I look at them like, ew, because it looked disgusting to me. And so they opened their mouth to start talking, and they decided in that clinking, slow, rusty brain of theirs that let's start with manipulation first. And I swear to God, the first word came out and I had to go pause. Before we move forward, let me make something clear. Your obvious tactic of manipulation, I would like you to leave it out of this meeting. I shut that down immediately because I was not interested in wasting my damn time. Now with the Leviathan spirit, I already knew I'm not going to give you room to twist communication, to create confusion, to distort anything. I am just going to remove the weapon that you clearly like to wield so much right out of your hand. Just snatch that shit out and throw it in the garbage. Now what do you got? What do you got now? And guess what? The person just stuttered through that damn meeting because they did not know what to do. I took the only weapon that they've been using multiple times, manipulation, as a means to try to twist communication and distort and create an entire illusion that does not exist. This is why I thought they had a mental illness. Like, you need to go to a doctor and diagnose whatever disorder you have. I thought that was the case because of the behavior. And I was like, maybe, I'm rushing a little too far here, take it back. Maybe it's not a mental illness. Maybe it's just a spirit. Unfortunately, time has passed and I still think this person have a mental illness. Sorry, not sorry. It took me some time to understand that this Leviathan spirit, this person, wants power and control so bad. They need everyone to look up to them, to praise them, to tell them how great they are. And what a lot of these people who are so deep into this spirit don't understand is that is actually a weakness. Your desire to have something that you can't have because you don't have the skill or the capability to earn it, to be able to wield it. Even if you got it, you couldn't sustain it because you have no idea what it is and how powerful it can be. So you never really have it. It can be used against you. So the delusions that you have in your mind about how powerful you are and trying to put people in a state of fear so that they can continuously praise you and come to you and ask you questions and make you feel powerful and make you feel whatever can be used against you. It is your weakness, and it's bare, it's open, and anyone can come in and manipulate it at any time. Thankfully, I know how. So I am really not the person to make an enemy. This is fun to me. Now, the 3 heads. Let's contrast that with Jezebel. And the reason why I'm bringing up Jezebel is because I think that one of the heads is a Jezebel spirit. And like I said, I discussed it in the spirit of jealousy part 2, that this is what I learned from a previous experience of somebody else who was dealing with him. And I said, oh, this is a Jezebel spirit. Jezebel operates differently. This is about control. As you know, I believe that control is a weakness. Being manipulative, it's a weakness. It tells me that you are a weak person and easy to manipulate back. Most people are fearful of manipulative, controlling people. I am not. I have had to deal with them for so many years that now it's just fun. It's just fun to play with them because they're so delusional. So again, control is one that this Jezebel spirit has. Manipulation, influence. I don't see the influence with Jezebel spirits, but depending on the person that they're dealing with, they may have influence over them. And often jealousy. I call Jezebel the jealous spirit because everything that they do is out of jealousy. Jezebel is more direct in its intent. A Jezebel spirit is a metaphor used in charismatic Christianity to describe a demonic force inspired by the biblical queen Jezebel, 1 Kings, if you want to learn more about this Queen Jezebel, which induces people to act in controlling, manipulative, and seductive ways, particularly within church setting. Mind you, what I'm referring to is dealing with the spirit in the workplace. So I don't want people to think that what I'm saying is that you can only encounter these spirits in church. No, you can encounter them outside the church. In the workplaces where I've encountered this specific spirit. I've even encountered it in school. I've encountered it in family members. So the church setting is not the only place that these people, the spirit, operates out of. So key characteristics includes ideology, false teaching, and intimidating, rebellious behavior that resists authority. Now, the key characteristics. The Jezebel spirit is believed to operate through people who exhibit specific traits. The first is manipulation and control, so using spiritual authority to dominate others, often targeting church leaders. And in my case, these Jezebel spirits would target me because I had a specific spiritual authority. Have not done the research on this as of yet, but that's something for a later date. Next on the list is seduction, leading people away from biblical doctrine towards immorality. Well, in that situation, y'all understand discernment can protect you from that as well. Resistance to authority, a strong dislike for being told no, often reacting with intimidation or victim playing. And it's funny that that is brought up because this three-headed whatever he is hated hearing the term no. I remembered when another manager of his, I guess she was replacing the previous manager that allowed him to get away with whatever he wanted. And she would just eat up the lies because, you know, he just needed to stroke her a little bit and she just giggled her way. Anyways, this one came in and she was trying to let him down gently because he came up with a plan, and it was a stupid plan. Like, I even heard it sitting outside of the office going, who the hell gave this person the idea to do this? And if he came up with it himself, he's dumb. It's the most stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I was looking over at my coworker at the time, and she was looking at me like, what am I listening to? And I was like, some dumb plan of his. Anyways, the manager at that time was looking at him, I guess because it's through a Teams meeting, and she was saying to him that, you know, you need to consider your other team members or the other people that work in this office with you and how that would affect their workload if you decide to push forward with this plan. And I could hear the frustration in his voice because he was breathing heavy, like, you know, because he wasn't getting what he wanted. He hated the term no, but she didn't say no. She was just trying to get him to kind of think about anyone but himself. And so he just did not care. So he just kept pushing and pushing and giving her crazy pushback. And she just kept repeating the same thing over and over and over again to him, hoping that his brain will eventually kick in and his empathy for his team, who's already overwhelmed and drowning in work, and understanding that this idea, this plan of his may not be the best option. It will affect the team in a negative way. I understood exactly what she was saying. I got the hints and I wasn't even in the meeting. Again, why would you keep your door open to broadcast this stupid plan of yours and then keep the door open so that everyone can hear, myself included, that you're being rejected in the nicest way possible because it's clear that you cannot take no for an answer? So he just kept pushing and pushing until, you know, she just kept repeating it, hoping he'll understand. And he eventually gave up because she wasn't budging, but she also didn't say no. Because I think, you know, being in a leadership position, you kind of need to be able to look at somebody and know that they are not able to understand or take critiques. So she, of course, has been dealing with his pushback a lot and decided, I'm just going to keep repeating it until this dumbass understands. I'm sitting there trying not to laugh my ass off. So eventually the meeting ends and you can hear him huffing and puffing still, and he slams his phone against the desk. Again, the door's open. He wanted it open. He wanted me to hear everything that was going on in the office, and I guess he wanted me to think, oh wow, he's so amazing. Look what the manager said about him, or his manager said about him. And instead it backfired. So he was frustrated. He could not take no for an answer. Then he went around just kind of talking about, oh, woe is me. I'm trying so hard to help our team. No, I'm not stupid. I know for a fact that if you want to get promoted or you want to be moved out or given special privileges, you need to actually come up with a project that is beneficial for the entire office. And if everyone works hard enough and actually helps you succeed, you can get promoted, and you can also get a different position if not promoted. So I understood that, and nobody else in the office is stupid enough not to understand that. And you got shut down because the plan was most likely going to harm the team and not benefit them in any way. But you were so desperate to get promoted, so desperate to get recognition in any way, that you were willing to throw your team under the bus and cause a disarray in the office over trying to pursue your pride and ambition, and you got shut down. So I'm sitting there laughing my ass off, and I kept thinking to myself, I feel bad for this new manager who's just replacing the old manager while she goes off being a clown. And, you know, she now has to deal with somebody who's always hearing yes from someone who actually doesn't know anything about the job whatsoever. Someone who clearly just wants to be praised and feel propped up for doing the bare minimum. So of course she just goes along with what this dumbass always says, and she does not check in to realize that, hey, that's actually not a good plan, and it's going to affect everyone, including herself. She wasn't thinking about it. But this new manager that was covering for her understood that, because she's a real leader. She understands leadership, and she understands that if you want to be successful, you need to take into consideration the team members around you and making sure that they are completely supported. Now, nowhere in his pitch for this stupid plan that actually was never going to work, and I even knew that, did this idiot ever once think that maybe he should say to that person, well, because you mentioned that the workload is going to be a little bit too heavy for them, maybe these are the steps that I would take to provide them with support. If you had said that, maybe she would have considered it. Maybe she would have been like, okay, break down these steps to support the team that would be helpful towards them and also help you accomplish this goal. That would have been a great place to start with negotiation on also talking about how this project can be successful. That's not what he did. He just came up with this plan and expected to be stroked like a moron. Like, this is the real world. This is not you going home and talking to your wife or your kids. Like, this is the real world. This is a business. You need to actually back it up. Anywho, let's move on to deception. Deception, using lies or, in extreme views, witchcraft to gain power. Yes, this dude did all of that. He thinks I don't know. But you see, when you are spiritually aware and you have discernment, both on a physical and a spiritual level, you are able to see through witchcraft. You know when someone is doing something they shouldn't be doing. But, you know, I wasn't batting an eye. I'm highly protected. But the lies, constant lies. At this point, I thought he was a pathological liar. And the next on the list, fostering division, creating conflicts and sowing discourse within communities. And that's exactly what this person always did. He just kind of went around whispering into other people's ears and trying to turn people against each other, just so he could feel like he has everyone on his side, not realizing that you can't keep up with that many lies. That's a lot of lies to keep up with each individual person. You're going behind one person's back to lie about another person, and then going to that person and lying about another person plus another person. And he's doing the rounds, not realizing that eventually the lies will catch up to them. That is deception. That is deception. And I get it. The way that this Leviathan spirit, Jezebel spirit, one with the three heads, was really thinking is that if he creates discord between everybody and get everyone to kind of turn against each other and only see him as someone who's trustworthy, that his lies will never come out. He will have ultimate control through manipulation. And of course, because this person plays the victim all the time, if he was confronted about it, he's just going to lie and go, oh, I didn't do that. This person did that. I don't understand. This person said this to me and I just repeated it. And it's like, listen, you're supposed to be in a position of authority, a position of leadership. You can't turn around and blame somebody else for your lack to cover up the fact that you created a dumpster fire so you can look like a hero. And at the end of the day, the fire got so out of control because you did so many lies and you couldn't patch any of it up. You couldn't write in like a hero to say, I'm here to save the day. Everyone look at me. Everyone glorify me. It wasn't possible because you created too much lies and you can't catch up with all of them. So again, everything is going to blow up in your face and you're going to look like the idiot, not the hero. Last on the list, emotional manipulation. I already gave you an example of that through the last one. Using flattery and high emotional volatility to gain influence. Now that I've broken those two down, let's recap. Leviathan confuses you. Jezebel seeks control over you. What does that look like? Guilt tripping you when you set boundaries. Using charm to pull you in, then intimidation to keep you there. Creating dependency, punishing you emotionally when you don't comply. Let me tell you, that is exactly what I experienced with this person. And I'm like, nah, you're not my husband. You're not my daddy. You're not related to me in any way. You're just a fucking coworker. You're just a coworker. You are nothing to me. So any of these stuff will never work on me because in my mind, you have no value to me. You are not valued in any way. As far as I'm concerned, you're a nobody who is just trying to play like you're somebody. So none of these things are going to work on me. But I did witness so many people falling for this within that office space. And I felt so bad for them because it's clear that they come from a place of trauma. And this person took advantage of that by using what they've experienced through childhood trauma, things that they've experienced through their abusive relationships, and they would fall for it. And then there are others that, came in and I can tell the look on their face when they started trying to use that sort of manipulation on them, like a few of these, that their face just changed completely because they don't have a poker face just like me and could see right through this person and they just disliked them immediately. But not everyone is that lucky. Most of us have been in a situation where we have tried to set boundaries. I need some space right now. And the response is, oh, so you're now just going to abandon me after everything I've done for you? Again, that's relationship. In the workplace, you don't necessarily hear that too much. You get the silent treatment. They start moping in the corner. They start acting all sad and trying to make it seem like, oh, woe is them, in hopes that you'd come over and give them attention. We've been there. Don't fall for it. I promise you, it's just a game. Now you feel guilty. Now you feel responsible. Now your boundaries is under pressure. That's control. That is control. I even went and looked up Delilah's spirit because, again, there's 3 heads. I've only covered 2. And so far, the first 2 that I've covered describes this person to a T. So I was like, okay, well, let's see if this Delilah spirit is one of the other heads. Again, 3 heads. Delilah's spirit is a seductive, manipulative, and destructive influence. It is characterized as a familiar spirit designed to lure believers into compromising their values, betraying trust, and draining them of their spiritual strength. And you know what? That's the 3rd head. I kept trying to figure out what the other things that this person was doing could be categorized as, and here I am finding Delilah spirit. Boom. Could not believe it. Key characteristics: seduction and manipulation, uses charm, affection, and deception to gain trust and control. Again, most people and I've seen this, a lot of the people, especially in this office space, really did fall for this. I could not, because number one, I didn't find this person charming. Their affection was just so fake. I've said in previous podcast episode before, when you look into this person's eyes, it was hollow, like they didn't even have a soul. So it was just cringe every single time this person came around me. And the deception to gain trust and control never worked on me, because I never trusted this person and I wanted nothing to do with them. So the seduction and manipulation just went over my head, and I was like, ugh, you're here again. It was one of those situations like, what kind of fresh bullshit are you going to bring to my table now? Like, that was the impression that I had. So whatever the seduction and manipulation was worked on everyone else, just not on me. I was completely disgusted by this person. Second on the list, betrayal and destruction. Aims to discover an individual's strength to turn them into vulnerabilities, leading to the downfall or broken relationship. Again, this person and I never had a relationship, but he's the type of person that will make you think you and him have that type of relationship when there is no evidence to prove otherwise. And so he did definitely try to create a situation where he would betray me, and he did. I'm not mad about it, but the thing about it is, at the time, I was mostly upset about the fact that he thought that I cared about him enough to care that he would do this. So I was like, since you like to play games, let me play games back. And trust me, when I played my game, he couldn't handle it. He just couldn't handle it. I said, listen, I am not that person. I am not the person to mess with. You want to betray me, understand it's going to come back to you tenfold. What you did, I could definitely just go, okay, wash my hands of it and walk away. No big deal. But the fact that you kept coming back, somehow trying to find ways to beg me to forgive you, or try to be like, we're friends, right? We're friends still, right? Right? Like a pathetic child. That was cute. But I never liked you. So this friendship thing that you're looking for, or hoping that I would lie to you and say, oh yeah, we're friends. And I mean, honestly, if I was truly to play the game, I should have said, yeah, we're friends, because that makes it easier to stab you back in the back, right? But unfortunately, it was, when I thought about the situation, you would need to mean something to me. You would need to be at a level that I could respect and admire to even give you that attention or care enough to get back at you. You understand what I'm saying? I'm really hoping that you guys get it. This person was beneath me in every shape or form. Why would I stoop so low as to want to get back at somebody that's not even on my level? Next on the list, constant compromise. Relentlessly pressuring victims to abandon their spiritual commitment or moral standards. And this is something that I kind of felt. And what I've noticed that was prominent in this system, this toxic system, where this person was spiritually abusing his authority, I realized that a lot of people needed to do something evil to somebody else to be connected to them, if that makes any sense. I'm really hoping it makes sense. I'm just trying to break down what I witnessed, because again, in the offices and the workplaces, I tend to view it like a reality show. And so I just like observing, animals in their natural habitats. And so him and this clique of people, they would create situations and circumstances where someone would go against somebody, and they want you to do it publicly, because that's evidence against you for them. And that's the only way you'll be able to get into this cult of losers. So I would watch people basically go against their morals and values and stoop so low as to attack someone who's never done anything to them, just so they can prove that they're one of them. And what they don't understand is what you've done is now evidence that they can hold against you. So if ever you decide to back out of anything in any way, they can wield it and say, oh, remember when you did this? Yeah, we witnessed that. We have proof of it. So if you don't do it, do what we tell you to do, you try to back out now and try to have a moral standard, well, we're going to use this and get you fired. And it was so sad to watch a lot of people live in fear every single day and be pushed to do something evil towards somebody else who they didn't really have a problem with, but the lies and the manipulation to try to make it seem like, oh no, this is what they really meant. They're totally against you, so you should do this against them so that you can be one of us because we're the best. No, they're not the best. They just found a way to trap you. Now they have something over you. Now they own you. Complete control. The next on the list is materialism and greed, often motivated by greed or personal gain, similar to how Delilah was bribed by the Philistines. And it's sad because I've mentioned it in certain podcast episodes, especially the psychological manipulation, which is about that situation. They bribed this moron into thinking that he's going to get more money. He was going to get a promotion. He was going to get status. He was finally going to have authority. He only needed to take me down. Me. Okay. So yeah, I don't think, I already knew the play. I already knew the manipulation. I knew exactly what they were trying to do. And I knew he wasn't going to get anything that he asked for. Why? Because they were just using him. Again, they would rather my wrath hit him than them, not realizing that I've been watching for months. I know everyone involved by name, first and last name. I know your spiritual signature. I know everything about each and every one of your life. I know where you live, everything. I know every single thing about every single person involved. So pinpointing him, yes, my wrath went his way because, again, he wanted that glory. So I'm giving you the glory. But for the rest of you, you're all going down with him. I'm not worried. I was not the one. I am not the one. I am not Samson. In the Bible, Samson was a very strong man. He won plenty of battles and he was considered a warrior of God. And of course, he met a woman, and this woman she was sent by the Philistine to get evidence or to find out what his weakness was so that they could take him down. And he foolishly told her one night because he trusted her, right? Trusted her. And he should never have trusted her, but he could not see through her. He couldn't see through her. So he ended up telling her exactly what his Achilles heels was, which is to cut off his hair and he'll lose all his strength. So when he went to sleep that night, she brought some men in, people that paid her to get this information. They chopped off his hair, dragged him out of bed. He couldn't even fight back because all his strength was based on his hair. And they killed him. He died. And that was the lesson in that story. Next on the list, gender neutrality. Even though it is derived from a female biblical figure, it is considered a genderless spirit that can operate through anyone. And majority of the people that I've seen operate through this specific spirit are men. It's really surprising. I thought it would have been more of a woman, but it's mostly men that I've met who I've witnessed do this to other females that exhibit this behavior. This is why I always assume that they're female. Like I would meet men who have the spirit and I for some apparent reason, I know they're men. They got no tits and they got a dick. But for me, when I look at them, when I talk to them, I feel like I'm talking to a woman. It's that bad. But at the time, like I didn't understand why I kept feeling like this was a woman's spirit, a female spirit in a man's body. But that's what it is. That's what it is. So now the reason why I touched on more than one is because sometimes it's not just one that we're dealing with. As I said, the vision showed me that he had 3 heads with a snake-like neck. And I guess, snakes just slither through. Some people operate in both or all 3. Some people operate in multiple patterns at the same time, and it can throw you off. But once you can identify each and every one and which category they fall into, it makes it really easy to protect yourself. Your confusion is Leviathan. You're being controlled, Jezebel. But Delilah operates differently. This is not just about control or confusion. Delilah is about weakening you. Remember what I said in that story about Samson. He told this woman about his weaknesses and how that would completely deplete his strength. And she took it. She went back to the people who paid her. They cut his hair off and then they killed him. So Delilah's spirit, they drain your strength, wear down your resistance, gain access to your vulnerability, studying you long enough to know where you're most exposed. And that's exactly what Delilah did. Delilah is patient. It doesn't always come aggressively. It builds trust. It creates connection, and then slowly starts to erode you from the inside out. And this is what this person was trying to accomplish. Unfortunately, my spiritual level is much higher than what this person could actually penetrate. You did not gain my trust. You learned nothing about me. My resistance, the resistance that I did give, was so minimal that you really don't know what my 100% looked like. So you couldn't even come after my resistance. And vulnerabilities, eventually when I started seeing through the game, I stopped explaining. When you sent people to come over to me, to come and try to talk to me and go, oh, this is happening and this is happening, like, how do we fix it? I always said it's above my pay grade. I wasn't available. I completely checked out. I was very indifferent. So this person got nothing whatsoever. And the best part about it is the only reason why I was able to resist is because I just used their lack of intelligence against them. This person did not gain trust or loyalty from me. So it was not that difficult to give nothing while making them think that they got something. You got nothing on me whatsoever. You had to make things up to try to have something over me. And that still didn't work. My moral standing, my commitment to my spirituality has never faltered because I am connected to source. To break it down a little bit more, this can look like someone who gets close to you very quickly. And this person tried, except they didn't realize that I never liked them. There was just something about their energy that just completely made my skin crawl. Second is learns your trigger, your struggles, your past. Again, this is why people need to stay private. Not everyone needs to know your business. And because I've done the shadow work, my triggers, my struggles, my past do not affect me in the same way. So it doesn't matter if they ever found out about it. It can never be used against me. And of course, the third positions themselves as safe. I never felt safe around this person because I watched how they treated other people and what they got from it to the point where I was like, listen, this person is destructive. And if you want to be safe, you stay the hell away from them. But over time, you feel more drained than supported. You constantly give, explain, pour out. Your energy, confidence, and or clarity starts to decline. Thank you, God, for never letting that happen to me. That is the best part of being connected to source. You always stay clear. Your intuition and your discernment is always on point. You don't always see it immediately because it didn't start that way. That's weakening. And a lot of people don't use their intuition or their discernment. They ignore it when they hear the voice in the back of their heads that say, run. Don't walk, run. They just ignore it. And then they fall into a trap and there's no way out. This person already knows everything about your life. This person has somehow figured out who all of your friends are, have somehow met your family. And this is not just friendships and relationships. A coworker can pull that shit too. They have somehow embedded themselves in all areas of your life and there is no escaping them. None whatsoever. You would need to cut off your family and your friends to get away from this person. Move out of your place. Change your number. Good luck. They will still find a way to find you. It is very creepy. Creepy, obsessive, everything. Obsessively creepy is a term that I used to describe this person when I was working with in that office. Just creepy. Gave me the ick. So now imagine this. You're being confused, Leviathan. You're being controlled or pressured, Jezebel. And you're being drained or weakened, Delilah. That combination is what makes it so hard to identify. And trust me, it took me some time. Thankfully, when I was in the position, I met Jezebel first. And I met Jezebel through someone else in this person. And then after that person ran, I met Leviathan soon after the betrayal. And then Delilah came out with the obsessively stalking and monitoring and sending people to find out what I'm doing, running after me, making up stuff in the office like, oh, everyone's complaining that you don't say good morning to them. Excuse me, I said good morning. If people aren't listening, it's because they're on the phone, and maybe that's why they didn't hear me say it. But you need to come in and like say hi to everyone. So I'm like, so you want me to stop by each and every cubicle and scream good morning to every single person one at a time? Is that what you want? What he was trying to say to me is that he needs me to come to his office every time I enter, and I have to stand there and talk to him and ask him about his day and ask him about his wife and his life and spend about 30 minutes talking to him for him to feel good about himself every day. And I'm the only person he's asking to do that for him. Nobody else. It's not required of anybody else. He's even annoyed if someone tried to come over and do that to him, the annoying one in the office. He doesn't even want it from her. He needs me specifically to come over and act like I care about him, to make him feel better about himself. Do you know how sad that is? That's a very sad individual. This is where people start to feel drained, disoriented, and emotionally unstable. And again, you might think maybe it's me, which I never did, thank God, because I have dealt with a Jezebel spirit before. And now that I've done the research, I've dealt with some Delilah spirits as well. But Leviathan was new for me. When confusion, control, and depletion are all present, you're not just dealing with one dynamic. You're in a system designed to wear you down. Because I've experienced this, as I've mentioned many times in this podcast episode, and I broke it down for y'all, so y'all can't say that, I'm just giving you a topic without any experience behind it. No, I've experienced this. I could not put my finger on it because, again, meeting someone that can switch up between 3 different spirits is crazy work, mentally crazy work. I knew something was off. Thank God for discernment. I could feel it, but I didn't have the clarity to name it. And that is why after everything that I went through, I really needed to do the research. And it took me some time, but I finally got it. And this is the production. This is the product of my research. But if you're still in it, it's the most frustrating place to be, where your spirit is picking something up, but your mind cannot explain it. And then one day it clicked. Once I knew what this was or this is, I can handle it. And I was a pro. I was so proud of myself because clarity changes your response. And because of intuition and discernment, even though I did not have all the research as of yet, I was dealing with it before I did the research. For months, I was dealing with it before the research, but I handled it because of intuition and discernment. When dealing with Leviathan, you cannot argue your way out of confusion. So stop trying, stop over-explaining, stop repeating yourself, stop trying to get them to understand. Save your energy. Your time and energy is precious, and these types of people, these spirits, don't even bother with them. Just don't. Because clarity will not come from someone committed to distortion. They don't care about your perception. They only care about theirs and what they want out of it. They could care less how you feel, how you think, how disrespectful they're being. They could care less. You just need to give them what they want. I will never give you what you want. Not until I get mine. Instead, how I handled it is by being clear once. And of course, if someone keeps asking the same question over and over and over again, I remind them I shouldn't have to repeat myself more than once for you to understand what I said. Now, if you want more clarification, ask a different question. Second, stand on it. and you can't budge. There is no, oh, maybe I could compromise. No. My self-respect will never be something that I compromise on. And if you won't stand on your self-respect, then why should they? Disrespect is not acceptable, and you will never get far with me with disrespect. Third, disengage from circular conversations. Again, mentioned that already. If they try to bring you into gossip, find a way to get the hell out of it. Say you don't know, I don't know this person like that. I'm not going to judge. Or if they come to you with like business from work, just say, listen, this is above my pay grade. I'm not getting paid enough to handle it. There are ways to get out of these things. And that's exactly what I did. I did not entertain gossips. I did not, if you came to me and you were telling me your business, I will listen intently, because you are now loading my gun against you, knowing fully well what you were sent here to do. You came here for information on me, but instead you're giving me too much. Thank you for loading this gun for me, right? It's just basic things like that when you're dealing with people that aren't very intelligent. When dealing with Jezebel, this is about boundaries. Be firm, be consistent. Do not reward manipulation with access. And it's very difficult because some of the Jezebels that I'm dealing with, and I hope you never have to deal with, they are very volatile, emotionally unstable, mentally unstable, especially when they don't get what they want. They turn into like an animal almost. So that's what I've dealt with, and I hope and pray you don't ever have to. But I've learned how to put a leash on these animals and put them down and tell them who's the boss. So be firm, be consistent, and do not reward manipulation with access. Never break these 3 rules. And most importantly, do not negotiate your boundaries to keep the peace, because peace built on control is not peace. They're just going to keep coming with more drama, more chaos, in hopes to get more and more and more out of you until you're completely depleted. And then they're going to throw you out. Listen, I want to be thrown out with my dignity intact, my self-respect, and all you're left with is all that hard work that you poured in to receive nothing in return. That's what I want you to get. When dealing with both, this is where strategy becomes critical. And trust me, I'm not a type of person that has strategy, but dealing with this specific person with 3 heads, I really had to be strategic. So slow everything down is the first step you need to do. Do not react emotionally. Step back and observe patterns. Whenever I allowed myself to get emotional, it was for a purpose. It was to disarm that person. And it always worked because I hardly ever react emotionally. So when I do, this person knows that they've overstepped a boundary or they've done something they shouldn't have done, and now they have to reap the consequences. And one of these consequences is that you lose your credibility with me, the one you've spent months of your life trying to convince to admire you, to aspire to be you, to think of you as someone who is so special and so great and so grand. Now you've completely destroyed that credibility with me. And that is something, after all those hard work, months of hard work, gossiping, lying, smear campaigns, doing the most, sending monitoring spirits, witchcraft, all of it. You did all of this to end up having zero respect, the same level of respect you got the moment I met you. That's really sad, but I'm happy for you. Really happy for you. So focus on what is consistent, not what is said. And again, I only look at actions, never words. Words mean nothing. Words will confuse you. Pattern will reveal the truth. Now, when we are dealing with someone with these types of spirits, some individuals have unresolved trauma. And it was quite obvious. I figured that out within the first 5 conversations that I've had with this person. It was clearly written all over them that they have unresolved childhood traumas. Some are dealing with deeper issues, of course. And if you listen to the psychological manipulation podcast episode, I broke a few of it down. But that does not mean you ignore what's happening. I was never going to give a pass to someone who refuses to go and get their issues checked out and figure out a way to help themselves, who turn around abusing others as a means to make themselves feel better. You will never get sympathy from me. The empathy is out the door. The only thing I see is a man-child. That's all I'm going to see. Someone that should not and will never deserve any ounce of respect from anyone. You can have compassion and still have boundaries. This is about protecting your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. I'll leave you with this. Knowing what you're dealing with is discernment. Know thy enemy. When you can recognize what's happening, you stop internalizing confusion that was never yours to carry. And you stop adjusting yourself to environments that were never meant to be healthy. As I mentioned before, this environment that I'm talking about, that previous workplace, it lives off fear. The first thing they did when I walked in or I started the job was starting to throw fears towards me. And I was very confused as to this fear doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I would laugh in their face and they'd look at me like, what's so funny? I'm like, you really believe that? That's a limitation that you clearly put on yourself. So someone came in and put limitations in all of these people's mind, and it festered, and they believed it to the point where they could not move or do anything without someone giving them permission to lift the limitation a little bit so that they can get stuff done. Do you know how sad that is? That's a prison. That's a prison, and people in jail or prison are treated way better. They're treated way better. Again, discernment is not judgment. It's protection. And once you see clearly, you move differently. And let me tell you, I moved so differently that it pissed people off because I never bought into the fear. I never allowed someone to have me question my moral standards or think maybe I should lower it so I can be a part of this clique of losers. Never, not once did I look at them and wanted to be any one of them, a slave, trapped in prison, in a deep pit of a hole in darkness. Oh, so unappealing. So unappealing. That concludes this podcast episode. Thank you for joining me today on Orchid Bloom's podcast. Your support is appreciated. Take this time to subscribe, follow, rate, and leave a review on the podcast platform of your choice. Our social media pages are Orchid Bloom's YouTube channel, The Ambitious Obsession Network on Facebook, at The Ambitious Ops on Twitter, at The Ambitious Net on Instagram. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep blooming. I hope you have a splendid day.